we'll pull up our better than, worse than, and same. So these are all like this team, this player is better than I thought. This team player is worse than I thought, and then this team player is about the same as I thought here. Heisman Harburg, first and foremost, he was poised, he was confident, he made the routine play. I think if you put him in a situation where he's got to score 50 points, I can't imagine he's the guy who's going to lead you to national championship game. Can't imagine he's the kind of guy that you look at and like, that's NFL talent. But man, when you look at this schedule, when you look at teams like Maryland, Illinois, Iowa, you think this guy can compete. This guy can make the routine play. And that's all that this team needs. This defense is legit. The offensive line is a work in progress. They have two really good running backs. They have a couple of good wide receivers, and Thomas Fidone is getting into the groove of being a Big Ten tight end and kind of fitting the mold to what we've all been kind of waiting for him to do once he got healthy. He's looked fine. He's looked really good. I'm excited for him. You just need somebody to facilitate. You just need somebody to make the routine play. You just need somebody to not ruin the game. You know, I was thinking about the Colorado game. Like, well, I feel like for the first two quarters, mostly, it kind of got off the rails there late. But Nebraska beat Colorado. Nebraska also beat Nebraska, and Jeff Sims also beat Nebraska. Like, it's real hard to overcome Shooter Sanders, Travis Hunter, Dylan Edwards, and Jeff Sims. It's quite the crew working against. Heisman Harburg will win the Colorado game. I'm not sure. I could probably sell you on a case that he might. Does he beat Minnesota? I'm very confident in that. Very confident that he does. Also better than I thought, BYU. Going into Fayetteville is no joke. Even kind of looking at it, no Rocket Sanders in that game for Arkansas. BYU's offense hasn't looked good all year, and they haven't. Now, granted, I trashed the SEC defenses here, and I'll continue to do so as if you're looking ahead on the sheet there. But going into Fayetteville, Keaton Slovis hasn't shown anything of anything all season, and that's the kind of game that you go out there and win. That's not nothing, especially when you have kind of the lesser of the quarterbacks. Like I like Keaton Slovis. I low ceiling, I think, but he can win you a lot of football games at BYU. But KJ Jefferson, I think, might be the best quarterback in the SEC. Up next, week 3. I was kind of looking at the slate, kind of talking trash about it. Not a whole lot of high profile games, but man, it got fun. What a fun week of college football. Like Georgia and South Carolina, Alabama struggled against USF that we'll talk about here shortly. There's a lot of games that you wouldn't expect to be very close. Ended up being really good football games to watch. And then going all the way until 2 in the morning, Colorado and Colorado State. What a barn burner that game was. So week 3 was a huge success, even though I didn't think that there was a whole lot of intriguing matchups. Tennessee and Florida, BYU and Arkansas, the backyard brawl, Pittsburgh and West Virginia. Again, we'll talk about here in a little bit. TCU and Houston in their first Big 12 game. Great week, man. I'm so happy with that. I was feel bad for my girlfriend. I was like, well, you know what? This is the week if we're gonna go cherry picking or whatever couples do during the fall. Like, this is the week for it. No. Now here's who I feel are worse than I initially thought. Joe Milton's up first, and I'll kind of start off with this. I predicated any success on what Tennessee would do on the premise that Joe Milton could be a competent quarterback. When I pick a game that's wrong, it's usually a mixture of, well, I was wrong about the winner. They're better than I thought, and the loser is worse than I thought. And I feel like in this game, they had Florida going 4-8 in the season, but I definitely feel like I was more off about Tennessee. Also, I was the only one on Quartermaster Connection to not have Tennessee in my top 10, so keep that in mind. I think that we get into this groove, and certainly like NFL scouting purposes, you see the cannon and you think, man, that guy can make any throw that he wants, but you can't you can't just bring out the cannon every play. You got to be able to move the ball down the field. You have to be able to string plays together. Now, granted, their defense couldn't stop the run. Trevor Etienne, 172 yards. Just absolute, poise and just dominance as far as time of possession goes. 37.5 minutes to 22.5 minutes. That's a whole quarter of football. I don't know if Tennessee just doesn't have like the deep threats to be able to stand in a shootout with Florida. I also didn't realize how long it's been since Tennessee beat Florida in Gainesville. 2003. That's a long time. I was 6 years old. That's crazy. Crazy stuff, man. I can't believe it. Anywho, I also feel worse about Alabama. I think that one pretty much speaks for itself. They didn't look good at all against South Florida. And that game, I saw a Benjamin Albright tweet. It feels like this game could be 32 quarters long and South Florida would not score a touchdown. And I think that's right. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. I wonder if Joe Milton was hurt, because even he can't be worse than what we saw quarterback wise from Buckner and whoever else they threw in. So here are my big three takeaways with that Alabama game. One, Nick Saban's never playing a road non-conference game again. Never again. It is what it is. He struggled with Texas last year. He's in South Florida for some reason. I thought it was weird to begin with that they're playing a road game in the non-conference slate. Weird stuff. He's never going on the road again when he doesn't have to. Second of all, assistant coaches matter. When you think of Alabama's dominance, and I think when you look at Georgia's dominance now, reflecting in 5 to 10 years, you see just an all-star cast of coaches. And I think that's why this Alabama thing is done, because I think Georgia now is the program moving forward. The program, obviously Alabama's not going to fall off the face of the earth when it comes to recruiting. They're always going to have talent, but I think as far as like assistant coaches go, I think Georgia's kind of going to get the nod going forward. Like they're legit, and everything that Alabama had when they were dominating, Georgia now has. And I don't think that there can be even if they steal some of that glitz and glam from Georgia, you're still not going to dominate college football in the way that you did, in the way that Georgia's doing now. So assistant coaches matter a lot. And then you don't need a great quarterback, but you can't have a bad one. Also, see my first 10-minute rant on Nebraska's quarterback situation. Alabama's been very lucky to have Bryce Young. He was awesome. He's one of the best college football quarterbacks I've ever seen. But you don't need that. You just need not stinky. You just need competent. You just need somebody to go out there and make the routine play. I go back and forth because Colorado was on my better than I thought section the first 2 weeks. So let me kind of break this down here. I think that Colorado is better than I thought going into the season. And I think the things that are better, obviously the high-end talents. And the talent's everywhere. At wide receiver, at quarterback, at wherever Travis Hunter wants to be. The offensive line, the defensive line, the defense as a whole is upgraded from a year ago. They're very well prepared, I think. They're very well disciplined in the sense that they go in with a game plan and they're going to make that game plan work. Right? Like it obviously worked very well against TCU. Offensively, they got to do kind of whatever they wanted. But even these last two games against Nebraska and Colorado State, where you look talent for talent, pound for pound, Colorado has better talent than Nebraska, especially on the high end. Depth, I don't know. Doesn't matter. You look at Colorado State, absolutely better talent up and down that roster. But they struggled. They weren't able to move the ball like they wanted to early on. They had to overcome some mistakes. Saw some cracks in the foundation. But they didn't panic. There's no sense of panic ever. And Shadur Sanders feels like that kind of quarterback to where If you give him the ball at the end of the game with a chance to tie or win the game, or just with something to accomplish at the end, he's gonna do it. It doesn't feel like there's that many players that I'd rather put the ball in their hands with at the end of the game. It's that simple. Now that we have 3 weeks of this, TCU I think has gotten better each week. That TCU defense, I don't know what happened in week 1. That TCU defense actually looks pretty good now. I don't know if they just weren't prepared for it. I don't know if they were caught off guard. I don't know if they were hung over, but they look like a totally different team now. So that win is very impressive, still on its own. I don't want to discredit that win because TCU didn't play very good. Colorado went down to Fort Worth with the entire world watching and beat the defending national runner-ups. Even with Jeff Sims and his incompetent turnovers, Nebraska was right there. Colorado didn't look like the head and shoulders better football team that they thought they were, that everybody thought they were. And then last night, Colorado State's not very good. I get that it's a rivalry. I get that it's intense. I get that Travis Hunter went down with an injury. They were still 20-point favorites. And also, side note, storming the field was justified. Like, I guess on paper, you don't want to storm the field as a 20-point favorite when you're ranked and the other team's not ranked and the other team's won one football game in its last 13 tries. But you also got to remember, it's a vibes thing. Storming the field isn't, you got to put yourself in the shoes of a student there, right? It is even more so if you're like a junior or a senior and you watched, you were showing up and paying attention to the worst college football team in America for the last 3 years. This team stunk. And you're in Folsom Field. It's the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Both the networks have their game day shows there, which I don't know if it's ever been done before because it's crazy that Fox was on this list for a while. It's crazy for Fox to send their crew out here instead of promoting, I don't know, the game that they have their broadcast crew at, instead of promoting, the Big Ten, which they also have a vested interest. I mean, all day. You have the entire world watching. You have The Rock. You have Offset. You have all these famous folks here in Boulder watching your college football team. Have all that excitement coming in. Then you have that barn burner comeback double overtime win against a team that you hate, right? You hate Colorado State. You hate Colorado State more as the game progressed, knocking out Travis Hunter in that dirty hit. And that double overtime, 4th down, all you need is a stop, and they throw a pick and you win the game. The vibes are high. I'd argue the vibes were higher and the justification for storming the field was higher last night against Colorado State than it was Nebraska the week before. That was a good win. They hate Nebraska. But the vibes, were they off? I don't know. Who knows? But last night, Saturday night, Sunday morning in Boulder, Colorado, you get a couple of brewskis in you. You get a couple of drunk darts, even though you don't smoke. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Pull out the calculator and calculate, well, how big of a favorite do you have to be before we can't storm the field? Do these calculations meet the criteria in order to storm? No. Colorado, admittedly, the standard for field rushing is lower. They've been down on their luck. The bar is lower. Like Georgia, they beat South Carolina 24-14. They didn't storm the field. Well, yeah, of course not. The bar is different. The vibes are different. Georgia holds on to beat South Carolina, even if it went into overtime and was the same kind of electric game as Colorado State. You don't feel excitement. You feel, oh man, we avoided that one. The vibe in Colorado was, holy crap, we won, we did it, we held on, we came back. We could have folded every opportunity, and we didn't. And that's the difference. So, yeah, I think the vibes are absolutely justified for Storm in the field. And I'm also generally pretty okay with Storm in the field. These are also college kids doing it, all right? They're excited. They're here for a good time. Nebraska next week as, 15-point favorites. If they win in double overtime, they're not storming the field against their group of 5 opponent. Maybe they should. I don't know. It's all about vibes. So I think that they're very justified. But overall, I think Colorado is worse than I thought going into the game. Still probably net better than I thought from where they were going into the season. I also still think there's a not zero chance that they don't make a bowl game here. So if we look at their schedule, they're definitely losing to USC and Oregon. I have had such a bad gauge and such a bad read on this Colorado football team. I don't know what to expect. But I feel very good that they're not going to beat Oregon and they're not going to beat USC. Especially next week in Eugene. Get out of here. I think that they very much will, without much resistance, beat Arizona State and Stanford. So even before October's up, you got 5 wins, right? You got the 3 that you picked up against TCU, Nebraska, and Colorado State. Great. You pick up another 2 against Arizona State and Stanford. Great. Then you just need one more game. But you go to UCLA. UCLA is looking like a real good football team. You have Oregon State. They're looking like a real good football team. Arizona, Washington State, Utah. I think they definitely lose to Utah. Assuming that Cam Rising's back, I think that matters. At Salt Lake City, I don't think that you're beating UCLA on the road. I don't think that you're beating Oregon State. So now you look at Arizona and Washington State. You need to win one of those 2 games. I think Arizona is the one that you have circled on your calendar as far as if you want to make a bowl game. Lost the last 4 straight. Lost last year 43-20. This Arizona team is not very good this year. So, yeah, I think that you probably do beat Arizona. So that's 6. Then I think Washington State and UCLA are toss-ups. Probably give the benefit of the doubt to the home teams there in both UCLA and Washington State. So 6-6 would probably feel pretty disappointing if you're a Colorado fan at this juncture, but it's also not overdo it there. So I don't know. I think Colorado's not one of the 25 best teams in the country. I think I feel pretty sure about that. Now, granted, as where we are right now, they're 3-0 with 2 wins over Power 5 teams. There's not 25 other teams who have done that. So they get the nod. They'll stay ranked. I think they lose the next 2 and then probably drop out of the rankings there. They'll probably get some type of Colorado Coach Prime boost up to like 15 or so this week. And then next week they'll drop back down to like 20 after I think Oregon's gonna handle this pretty handily. Because you also got to remember, and I think what we saw last night from Colorado State, they're going to get every team's best shot. Every team that they play this year, they know that the world's going to be watching. Maybe not the world, like that Washington State Colorado game is probably not going to be a Fox Noon or College Game Day game. But you know that Colorado's going to come in. They're going to be loud. They're going to be confident. They're going to be in your face. That's going to draw the best out of every single team they play this year. And I think that we saw that from Colorado State. I don't think Colorado State's nearly as good of a football team, but you saw them really want this game. And I think you're going to see that from Oregon and USC. You know, if I'm one of those teams, I'm like, we're actually one of the best teams in the country. We're actually really good. We actually have all these great players. And Colorado's gotten all this media attention. We're going to show that, hey, like we're the actual good football team here. So I think that is going to be interesting to watch here over the next couple of weeks. I'll just kind of run through these real quick. TCU, yeah, they're fine. They are in good shape. They're a good football team. That defense is much better than that Colorado game would indicate. Chandler Morris is looking way more comfortable and starting to make some bigger plays. TCU is going to be good. Are they good enough to make the college football playoff game again? Absolutely not. Are they good enough to win the Big 12? Also, probably not. But they'll be in the thick of it in November as far as the Big 12 race goes. They'll be in a lot of close games again, so it's just going to come down to if they can pull that out like they did last year. Trends would indicate no, but those game trends would also indicate that Nebraska would stop losing these one-score games like they do. So trends don't mean everything. Mississippi State. So I put out my rankings, or not my rankings, my predictions for every team in the Power Five, game by game. Mississippi State got a bad draw. Even after I posted, I'm like, this is wrong. This isn't right. I had them, I think, going 4-8 and 0-8 in SEC play. Still pick up 4 wins because that fraudulent SEC schedule. And my justification for it was I don't think that Mississippi State's going to lose all of their football games. I don't think that's on the table for them. But there's not any game on their schedule where they are head and shoulders better than any SEC school here. And kind of looking at their schedule here, I'll pull it up. And Mississippi State fans also let me hear. So, and probably rightly so. Holy shit, I didn't even realize it was this bad. First of all, look at this clean ratio I got. I mean, this one's pretty bad. 7. Oh man, I didn't even realize it was that bad as far as bookmarks goes. Ooh wee. So let me pull this up here. So first of all, let's check out the ratio. 17 comments, 7 reposts, 0 favorites, 17 bookmarks. Outstanding stuff. But so far I'm dead on, right? 3 for 3. They beat Southern LA. They beat Arizona. They didn't look good against Arizona, by the way. And they lose pretty handedly to LSU. Now, I think LSU is really good. But let's keep looking at the schedule here. South Carolina, they went toe-to-toe with Georgia for 2.5 quarters. Spencer Rattler, good luck stopping him. Could Mississippi State win that game? Maybe. But do I think that they're head and shoulders the better team? Absolutely not. Alabama, even with their struggles, they're still Alabama. Western Michigan, they win. Out of Arkansas. Arkansas is not looking that great. Could they win that game? Absolutely. Are they head and shoulders the better football team there? I don't think so. At Auburn. I don't think Auburn's that good either. Going to Auburn on the road, that's a tough game. Do I think they could win? Absolutely. Do I think that they're head and shoulders better than everybody? No. Versus Kentucky, I don't know. You see, and here's the bottom line here. I could miss on 3 or 4 of these. Absolutely. Kentucky absolutely being one that, yeah. And I just didn't give them the benefit of the doubt in any of these games. But do I think that they're head and shoulders better than Kentucky? I don't think so. Do I think that they're head and shoulders better than Texas A&M? No. I have them beating Southern Mississippi. Ole Miss, do I think that they could beat Mississippi? Yes. Do I think that they're head and shoulders better? And I can definitively say that I definitely think Mississippi State's going to beat Mississippi? No. So, I mean, we got a lot to say. If they, do end up posting, 7 or 8 wins, the 17 bookmarks are going to come in and haunt me. That's pretty tough. But let's get back to that. So could I be very wrong about Mississippi State? Yeah, but I don't think it's because they're a bad team. I've actually learned a lot throughout this process about Mississippi State. Their experience, they have a lot of, junior, senior leadership. I didn't give them the benefit of the doubt with the new coaching staff implementing a new system, drastically different from Coach Leach's. So Yeah, I didn't give them the benefit of the doubt there, but I don't think they were head and shoulders better than any of those teams. Again, could they beat Kentucky? Could they beat Arkansas? Could they beat Auburn? Could they beat Ole Miss? Yeah. Are they are they going to beat any of those teams by 10 plus points? Probably not. And then, of course, the SEC is not very good. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Even the top end, Georgia struggled against a good quarterback in Spencer Rattler. At the beginning of the game, he was doing everything that he wanted to do. I mean, you couldn't stop him for anything. So I thought he was going to go bonkers. Of course, then Georgia settled in. SEC stinks. And they still might be the best conference in America. Like, I'm not going to overkill it there, but the gap's closed. Pac-12 looks awesome. The Big Ten, Michigan and Ohio State are the real deal. Penn State's the real deal. They might go 3 deep now. Big Ten West is still atrocious, so that's a tough argument to make. And the Big 12 also doesn't have a whole lot of really bad teams. So that is what it is. Honorable mentions, Kansas stunk against Nevada last night. I was too dialed in on Colorado State to really care, but overall, that'll do it. We got some exciting stuff on the Corner Street Connection Network this week. We got like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Go Big Red.